Minister, thanks for joining me on UpFront. Your Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and your party, the Awami League, swept back into power in 2014, but the opposition boycotted the election. More than 100 political activists have been killed in protests since, during, before that election. Amnesty International says none of those deaths have been investigated. Dozens of other opposition activists, they say, have been forcibly disappeared. There are now some serious question marks being raised about Bangladesh's democratic credentials. What do you say to your critics?
Not true at all. 2014 election, yes, BNP didn't participate in the election because
BNP, the opposition party, yes.
We don't call them opposition because they are not in the parliament. Jatiya Party is in the opposition.
Yes.
BNP didn't participate in the election because Jamaat-e-Islami was barred from taking part in the election. And without Jamaat-e-Islami, they have no future in the election. So that was probably the main reason. But after that, whatever violence has taken place, we have investigated, we have started an investigation, all of them. And police has submitted charge sheets in most of these cases. And there is no case of disappearance. Odhikar, and as an NGO, probably you have heard the name, came up with a number, and then when government went to challenge them and asked them to provide information, they miserably failed to provide any information. And even from the BNP or any other party, they have failed to come up with a list of people or identity, where they are. I'll give you a very
Amnesty International says 80 people forcibly disappeared.
They never came up with a list.
They published
government has always,
2015.
especially the Minister of Information, Mr. Hassan, he came to the media and said and asked all of them to come up with a list. But, they have failed to come up with the list.
So when your critics say, look, there are no MPs in Parliament from the BNP, many of the BNP members have been harassed, detained, tortured, they say forced to flee the country. The leader of the BNP, former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, has been charged with sedition, among other things. It's difficult not to conclude that your Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, your party, isn't trying to establish some sort of one-party state. It's just the Awami League in charge. That's what the critics say.
No, not at all. It's the critics who supports BNP and Jamaat. If you go and identify,
groups, I think it's fair to say Human Rights Watch, Amnesty don't support any particular political party.
A lot of Amnesty's reports on Bangladesh in recent past, even they went on to claim that the people who was actively involved in anti-liberation movements in 1971 and supported Pakistani army actively, they claim that they were not. Some of these reports suggested that.
I think they've criticised your tribunal that was set up as not being a fair tribunal.
Went too far.
That's a different issue.
But they went too far to say that they are not.
Maybe
so
because they have no faith in the justice system in your country. On a different topic, prior to becoming a politician, you made your name in textiles, in the garment industry, I believe.
I made my name, but yeah.
You made some money.
Made a living.
Made a living, a quite good living, I believe. That industry is worth $19 billion a year in Bangladesh. 25 billion dollars. It's a key industry to your country. And yet almost 3 years ago, we saw the Rana Plaza collapse, which killed more than 1,000 people, the deadliest garment factory accident in history. And yet human rights groups say garment workers in your country are still laboring in horrific and dangerous conditions. Labor laws aren't being fully enforced. Trade union members aren't being protected from intimidation and harassment. That's the picture of Bangladesh today, even 3 years after that horrific tragedy.
Probably these informations are a couple of years old, at least 2 years old. After that horrific incident of Rana Plaza, which has shaken the whole world, Bangladesh and beyond. And after that, government has actually consulted with the parties, i.e. the government, the importing countries, and the brands. And we have formed, European has formed and American has formed Accord and Alliance, two independent body to work with the garment manufacturer. And garment industry has gone through a lot of reform in last 3 years or so. The labor law has been revised. The wage of the minimum wage of the garment and textile workers revised twice in last 5 years. Government has revised the labor law, but the progress that we have made, being an insider of the trade in the past, at least 3 years ago when we promised to do certain things, we also believe that we will not be able to do it properly. Yeah. But I can claim with full confidence that product of Bangladesh, made in Bangladesh, are probably the cleanest, most garment in the world right at this moment.
You say that progress has been made. I'm sure many people wouldn't dispute the idea of progress. I think they're questioning how much progress. You say the human rights reports are out of date. Actually, they're quite recent. In fact, a very recent study, 2015, by New York University's Stern Center for Business and Human Rights, found, quote, of the 3,425 inspections that took place in Bangladesh, only 8 factories have remedied violations enough to pass a final inspection. That's a shocking statistic.
No, out of the 3,400, only 15 or 17 factory buildings were found unusable, and government has shut down those units. But you know,
The NYU report paints a very different picture to what you're saying.
I don't agree to their findings. You know,
Maybe
you'll have to really
should
talk about
with
the USTR. You need to talk about the European Union, the economic wings. You'll have to talk about the Accord and Alliance. You know, they are the legitimate body.
Just on the subject of the workers' rights and how we got to this bad situation in the first place, I read a report recently that suggested 1 in 10 members of parliament in Bangladesh own textiles companies. Do you think that's part of the problem, that there's this kind of vested interest in not enforcing the law?
That's one of my
quite a shocking statistic.
It's not a shocking statistics, but it's an interesting
Well, it explains
statistic.
why maybe labour laws haven't been fully implemented
but
if a tenth of parliamentarians have a vested interest in them not being implemented.
First of all, the number is not right. The second, out of 400 working days of the 9th parliament, and the 10th parliament is in the third year, into the third year. Not even a single day, go into the daily proceedings of the parliament and who said what. You'll not find one motion was brought by any of these MPs in favor of the textile industries. They always strayed away from these discussions.